this is an offense that is built to be versatile and built to be unpredictable, and they just hadn't been through much of the first 4 or 5 weeks. And so if they can establish that going forward, boy, they all of a sudden become a much more dangerous team overall, and their possibilities for where they can go in this division and in the playoffs just increase exponentially.
Absolutely. 763-421-4900. 763-421-4900. Call that number and just get an appraisal. Just see what State Farm and Tony Hoaglund can offer you, and Tony will make a donation to a charity, and it will be matched by the National State Farm. So just one phone call, one no pressure conversation, and thanks to Tony for his support.
Hi, Talk North listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new Quotes for Good program. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. The Viking Update Show, I will donate $10 to the Adam Thielen Foundation, benefiting the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital. When you call in, be sure to mention the show so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at champlininsurance.com.
And not to be too simplistic here, but if you just look at the NFC standings, the 49ers are a surprise team. Seahawks are good, which isn't surprising. Saints are good, which isn't surprising. But, the NFC North, we're doing the show on Monday afternoon, so this is before the Packers and Lions play. I mean, for all the problems the Vikings have gone through, despite the fact they've lost 2 road games in the division already, they're just not in bad shape. And if you believe in point differential is a good way of assessing what a team's capable of, the Vikings have by far the best point differential in the NFC North, and they have the second best point differential in the NFC. So, as you said, to go back to the theme we started with here, they're not in bad shape, especially if they can win at Detroit and get to, and get to 5-2. They will have built up a nice margin for error with some winnable home games in the future.
Yeah, and you look at it, Jim, as disappointing as the losses in Green Bay and Chicago are and were, in the grand scheme of things, when you go on the road in your division against a team that is expecting to challenge for the division championship as well, if you lose that game, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
You just have to be competitive in those games, and then when you get them back on your home turf, that's when you have to beat those guys, and then pick up your Falcons and Raiders and Eagles and Redskins and those kind of wins to pad your total. So yeah, all is not lost. It's just a matter of coming out of that Chicago game, how much chaos seemed to be surrounding this team. That's where you look at one loss, maybe steamrolling or the snowball rolling down the mountain and turning into an avalanche. Those are the things that you have to worry about. They have so far stemmed that tide. Now Detroit is a good team. They have been feisty, but I think they're certainly beatable on the road. So if you can get that win to get 5-2, then you have the Redskins coming into town. You figure you got to be 6-2 coming off of that. Now all of a sudden you're sitting really pretty going into Kansas City, who all of a sudden looks a little bit mortal. Not to say you can expect to win that game, but they're not quite as on fire as they were earlier in the year. So just the simple fact that they were able to throw some, to throw a fire extinguisher on the brush fire that had started and make sure it didn't turn into a blazing inferno, I think is a really notable accomplishment for these guys in a franchise that has so often before turned molehills into mountains quickly. And so there should be some inner confidence going forward into these next couple of games that they have weathered that storm, that they have kind of got their feet underneath them and should be okay going forward. Now, that can all change if they lose in Detroit and they really struggle to move the ball. But it feels like Kevin Stefanski over these last couple of weeks has found something that's just a little bit different to make some adjustments and make this offense a little more versatile. the defense has been good all year. And so when you put those two elements together, it sure feels like they have taken the big punch and are still throwing haymakers back. And I just think that is an encouraging sign for a team that hasn't always been able to get up off the mat after getting knocked out.
I want to talk about their home field advantage. Do want to thank Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. The promo code is TALKNORTH. Will get you your first delivery fee waived. Keep using Bite Squad because they deliver restaurant-quality food as if it just came out of the kitchen to your place, your home, your office, wherever you happen to be, morning, noon, night, snacks, late night. BiteSquad.com, Bite Squad, the app. If you upload your information to Bite Squad, the app, it makes ordering very simple. So when the Twins played in the Metrodome, and they were good, they tended to have a huge home field advantage. Sometimes it was postseason because of the crowd noise and just the craziness. But even during like the average Tuesday night game in June of an average season, they just, they benefited from weird bounces. They played on a surface that not all teams were comfortable with. They played against a backdrop and, the baggy that other teams were not completely used to. They did have an advantage that they used to their advantage when they were good. And when they moved to Target Field, they moved into a beautiful state-of-the-art place. It's one of the best, it's one of the best venues I've ever been in. It's still in pristine shape, but they lost that. They have really not had any notable home field advantage. Even this year, when they win 101 games, they were better on the road than they were at home. So the Vikings had the great home field advantage with the noise and everything else, and kind of a unique place to play. They move into U.S. Bank Stadium. Like Target Field, a state-of-the-art place, one of the best venues I've ever been in, a beautiful place. They have been able to carry over their home field advantage. It might even feel more notable now because it feels like teams come in here and just can't function in the first half of these games.
Yeah, it was really kind of staggering to watch Doug Peterson flail on Sunday. And this is a guy who's known as forward-thinking, aggressive, really smart coach that takes chances at the right times. And he just seemed really out of character for him. And the fake field goal was really a head scratcher. It didn't really make sense to do that there. I also thought that they ran the ball way too much which is at the strength of the Vikings defense. And, that first series, after giving up the touchdown, it's 3 runs, and then they're punting. I mean, that didn't make any sense at all when you have Carson Wentz able to make plays the way that he's able to. And so what that says to me is that it does seem that opposing teams come in and they get rattled a little bit, and the coaching staff does, or the players do. And I do think the big element of that, obviously, is the noise. The Metrodome was just hornet's nest that got to ear-splitting levels of noise that made it hard to even think in there, and made it really tough on opponents, either baseball or football teams. It isn't quite to the ear-splitting level of the Metrodome, I don't think, but it very much is a crowd and a building that keeps the noise in it. And so a lot of times you see these brand new buildings that get built and the high ticket prices and stuff, and it can sort of take a lot of the edge out of a crowd, but the edge is absolutely in the crowd at US Bank Stadium, and it gets really loud and the players feed off of it. And I think the opposing team has trouble dealing with it. And so they do things that are, as Brad Childress used to say, out of body. Like they just are uncharacteristic of them. And then the momentum starts building, and all of a sudden you're down 21-3 before you know it, and you're fighting for your life.
Absolutely. Let's get a final thought from John. Once again, thanks to our sponsors. Twill in the Edina Galleria, great place to shop, really low key. Kind of like Tony Hoaglund. There's no pressure. You can just have a conversation with somebody. They're very helpful. Also, Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. And thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. Again, follow us at Talk North Pod on Twitter. Easy way to get links to our shows, find out when our live shows are, and any special deals we might have going forward. Final thought, John.
Yeah, Jim, I thought that one other thing that, we didn't talk about as much, but that kind of feeds into the theme of today in terms of, weathering the storm and getting past the trouble, was that during that game, they get out to the big lead, but Philadelphia comes right back and closes it to 24-20. And it really did seem like things were starting to fall apart for the Vikings. And defensively, they were having a hard time getting stops. Offense wasn't moving the ball there for a minute. And instead of giving into that, and instead of letting Wentz complete the comeback and really kind of going out with a tail between their legs, Kirk Cousins made a few plays. The defense found itself again and got a turnover, and they just really shut the door and started to pull away. So that sticks with me in terms of, not only did they get past the Diggs frustration, the Chicago Bears meltdown, all of that, but they were in the middle of a meltdown in their own, in that game, and were able to stop the bleeding and really just kind of move forward and pull away. And I just think that is another sign that the team is in a good headspace right now. And again, it does not guarantee that they're going to be in the finals or in the playoffs. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to be just going to the Super Bowl. But it just feels like they're on better surface here, and that the chances of building things going forward a little bit is a lot higher.
Yeah, and one thing, if you pay attention to the rest of the league, I mean, some fans just worry about their own team. If you pay attention to the rest of the league, you do realize that everybody has their problems. It doesn't excuse,
no doubt.
It doesn't excuse Diggs, skipping practice or anything like that. But every team has problems. Every team has crises, and how you handle them sometimes, if you have talent, can determine the course of your season. Thanks to John. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. We'll be back next week with another Viking Update show on TalkNorth.com.